Today's podcast is brought to you by StrongHeartAcademy.com, where no heart is no victory. We are also brought to you by BJJ To Go. If you want to build your game and learn jiu-jitsu, go to bjjtogo.com. Third thing we're brought to you by is Rat Bat. You got rats? Want to kill bats? Kill them with a rat bat. Fourth thing we're brought to you by is hot dog flavored water ingredients. If you want to add it to your smoothie, hot dog flavor ingredient.
Toom, toom, toom. Hot, and so I often wonder, well, where should I begin?
Cool. All right. What's your name?
My name is Shea Smith.
Cool. This is like your third
time
one?
on this
Yeah.
podcast. We've done a few of them.
We're going to do one. You borrowed one of these mics and you did a new song or two?
Two new songs, yeah.
Two songs, but somebody's mixing it right now. So we were going to play it and do that, but it wasn't done. So I said, just come back. We'll just bullshit and then we'll do another one.
Yeah,
whatever.
Sounds good whenever the music's ready.
I was just going to talk about what happened yesterday. I don't think you weren't here yesterday, right?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. So I showed up yesterday and we're recording? Yeah, we're recording. Yeah, I showed up yesterday and there are these homeless people living out front, and that's pretty common around here. But she was like right by the door this time, and there was another dude farther down in the shop next to us. They left. They got kicked out or whatever.
Okay.
Because of the pandemic.
The dance academy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that's a whole nother thing. I think it ties into what I wanted to talk about. But the other guy I saw 2 weeks ago when I was talking to the owner of the dance studio, he stood up. He had a mat. He just laid on like nothing else.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Like no other bag or nothing. Just a mat, like a blanket.
Okay.
He's laying down
like
on
his
it.
Only possession.
Yeah. And they jumped up and started screaming at us. I was like, F you. Why do you look like you scumbag? I'm like,
oh, my God.
I don't know. He's like, the other guy's like, yeah, last time the guy had a knife, pulled a knife on him. I'm like, well, let's just go inside and I'm not going to antagonize him. You know, I don't want to shoot this dude.
Yeah, of course.
Somebody
that's already brandished a knife in the past.
I'm shooting that guy. We're not grappling. We're not fighting.
Straight
that's that 21-foot rule, they say.
Okay.
Someone with a knife, you have 21 feet. They can clear 21 feet before you shoot them.
Before you can fire, okay.
Yeah, or you fire and then they stab you 3 times before they're dead. So
right, while they're bleeding.
If they're brandishing a knife and they're coming at you, you better start shooting and moving too.
Okay.
But I'm like, I don't want to. Let's just avoid it and let's just go inside and pretend, don't make eye contact with the guy. It's like it's like a wild animal.
Yeah,
straight up like a wild animal.
Try to do whatever you can to avoid an interaction. Essentially,
for sure.
Keep this guy calm.
So he just yesterday though he never really got up. He just laid there. Never said anything, but the lady, I was in my office and I can hear her screaming like, dad,
what?
Something. And then I look out the window, I see her, she's just talking at nobody. I went because I was like, I think she's in trouble.
Right.
So I went out there to help her. She's just talking to a wall or whatever, or make believe. She's either schizophrenic or on drugs or on both.
Right.
And
I think most people that are homeless, it's some combination.
It's a combination, yeah. So I keep throughout the day, because I got here at like 9. For the next couple of hours, she was just doing this. Every once in a while, she would just start screaming, yelling, saying crazy stuff.
Okay.
And then one time, she starts shaking.
Like having a seizure or something.
Yeah, well, I thought an overdose, so I called the cops. I called 911.
Yeah, of course.
They got the fire department out here, and I was like, I don't think it's, she's dangerous. She's a really skinny lady. And she's just, I don't know, like I think she's sick, she might be overdosing, so I don't know what to do if someone's overdosing. We'll call the fire department. They come out. Soon as they show up, she's like, fuck you, stay away from me.
Oh, no,
She's like pointing at them and like, I'm like, well, guess she's okay.
Yeah.
They're like, well, she's refusing help, so, you can call the cops again, and then they might help her to a shelter.
Okay.
They might help her to a shelter. I'm like, okay. So I waited. It was about 3 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, kids class starts at 5. I don't want these homeless people, if they're dangerous, out front with little kids.
Of course.
Or if they have like needles laying around. I don't want to, like, we walk in here with flip-flops, right?
It's just not a good look.
Do I want a little 5-year-old
establishment.
stepping on a needle,
No.
putting it in, like, this is not okay. So I called the cops, or actually I called Mario that used to train with us.
Oh, okay.
He's an officer. And I said, look, man, it's not an emergency. Who do I call to trespass, to get them trespassed?
Yeah,
so they
off
can't,
of your storefront.
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
And he goes, oh, this is a non-emergency number. So I call the non-emergency number. I waited forever. They finally get to me. They were actually really helpful. They said, okay, we'll send an officer out, and we'll get, if you want to trespass, they'll give you a card.
Okay.
And then if they come back, you hand the card to the officer, and the officer knows that you already trespassed them, and they get arrested.
Oh, I see.
I
Okay.
said, so
It's like one warning, and then
basically it's what a warning is.
second
Yeah,
time they actually
but they know that you're not full of it because the police itself gave you the
have been
card.
there once
And they take the
before.
card back.
Yes.
I said, okay. But I said, you know what? Let's just give her, like, ask her to leave, and then maybe she never comes back, and we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's
And then if it happens
a more
again,
humane thing to do.
then we can trespass. How about that? She said, that's fine. So I waited and I waited and I waited. Kids class starts. The lady's still out front.
Okay.
I think the dog class at 6 something, the lady's still out front.
Oh,
So the police never showed up, I'm pretty sure, at least for now 3-4 hours.
Okay.
It's like they didn't do their job.
Right.
And then, everyone's joking about this lady out front, but it was like really, it was sad also. Like I had empathy for her, but
Of
I also
course.
have a business, and this could be a dangerous thing, in my opinion, because of needles or whatever they're on,
Yeah.
I think they're like on heroin or, they seem like they're on
Meth
heroin.
or heroin or something.
Yeah.
I guess if they're, heroin's probably people like passing out.
Passing out, a lot of
Meth
passing
is
out.
A little bit more of that
A little uppity,
confrontational.
yeah. So, I don't know, man. It was just a crazy thing. And then later she just disappeared and the other guy disappeared. So maybe
Okay.
the cops did show up, but they definitely didn't show up until like way after like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Because at around 7 o'clock, I didn't see her anymore.
She just disappeared on her own.
They
at that
think they
point.
just went on their own. Like it was
Yeah.
nighttime, it was cooler out, so now we can.
She can move a little bit,
like the
yeah.
wild
We're
animals,
We're on
like-
that desert schedule out
Ye-
here.
yep.
Yeah,
Like
later
desert-
it gets
100% like a
easier to
desert
move
schedule.
around, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just a weird thing, and they weren't here today. So maybe the cops did come. I don't know, but they didn't come very fast. It took
Okay.
them hours
That-
and hours and hours to do anything. And I guess they have stuff to do, but like it's in the middle of the day on a Tuesday.
Yeah, there can't be too much going on at that
What-
point.
Like, is there a lot of? I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I wonder if they get like they know that it was. Do they know what the call was about? Clearly, when you called,
Yeah,
them,
they
right,
know
it
it's
was
homeless
about
people.
Homeless
I
people
feel like-
trespassing. They might get that so frequently that
They
just
do.
start to ignore it.
Yeah, I think that's the deal.
Yeah.
But that's your job, man.
Yeah,
This is
kind
my
of is.
problem with the police. Is like any other job, you decide not to do your job, you get in trouble.
Right.
Like, hey, man, you're not doing your job. Your supervisor goes like, you're not even.
Yeah, you're held accountable for
You're
it.
held
And
accountable.
this is the one position in which you should be held accountable
I
for.
feel like they're just not.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti-police.
No,
but
yeah. I'm not
I-
at all.
I'm not. Like, we need them.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm the one that called them. You know what I mean?
You know, whatever your political beliefs are, that whole abolish the police movement to me is insanity. Like, you're just
That's crazy
you're
sauce.
just begging
yeah,
for
yeah.
chaos.
But
You're
if
begging-
I
yeah.
go out there with a stick and remove them myself,
then
get-
they're going to be here.
I
in an
will be
instant.
arrested
They'll
for
be
that.
Here, they'll be there in an
And-
instant. Yeah.
like, out of the many people that could possibly physically move someone, I could probably do it.
Okay.
But it's like,
Yeah, of course.
that's what taxes
You
are
wanna get
for.
your
Like,
hand- you
this is
don't-
what the cops
you
are
don't
for.
wanna get your hands dirty. I mean,
I don't wanna
the whole-
get
the idea
stabbed. I
of
don't-
vigilante justice or anything is a
Exact-
scary
no,
road.
yeah.
Scary road to go down.
100%. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But I'm just like, what are our options here?
Yeah.
You don't want to do your job, and then I'm not supposed to do mine. We just let them
We just
hang
let them
out,
walk over us.
do
yeah.
whatever.
That's
I guess.
that's something I've thought about recently. Well, so I listened to this particular podcast called Your Mom's House. You ever check that one out?
Yeah.
It's very silly, ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all
But-
nonsense. Yeah.
But on that same channel, they have the Dr. Drew After Dark podcast.
Oh,
which
okay.
is kind of like a callback to the shows that he did in the
Yeah.
past, where people would call and ask for sex advice or just ask for his opinion because he's of particular expertise on addiction and things
Yeah.
like that. But he kind of informed my opinion as of recently in regards to the homeless crisis in California.
Oh yeah,
Because
it's terrible.
Definitely when I was a little younger, when I hadn't thought it through, I felt like you kind of had the right to like exist. Like somebody can't, even if it's on public property, you know, like if you don't have anywhere else to be, like they can't remove you.
Yeah.
But he kind of illuminated that it's less of a economic crisis and it's much more of a mental health crisis.
It's 100% a mental.
As we said, it's drugs and mental illness, like schizophrenia or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And ignoring them is actually inhumane because like they need help. These are people
They
that
need
are
help,
that are
for sure.
sick and that are dying.
Yes.
He even pointed out too that like drug addiction is not a static illness. It's something that progressively gets worse, and that like the people in California are dying like by the dozens each day. Now there's like basically Skid Row like.
Yeah. When I a couple years ago, this maybe 3 years ago, I drove to San Jose to do Kyle's camp.
Okay.
Kyle Terra
I did that
camp.
drive once.
Yeah.
The one time I
was
went. Yeah.
just like 14 hours.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So I broke it up on the way back when I designed my geese. My cousin was in downtown LA. She works for, I don't know if she was with Frame at the time. It's like a fancy jeans or whatever. She's a designer. She designs clothes. So I was like, hey, can you help me out? And she helped me out. So her apartment was downtown LA, like downtown LA.
Right, in the heart
Skid
of it.
Row was like a block away, maybe.
Okay.
But so on the way home, I was like, and even by our house, there's just homeless people roaming around.
Sure.
I remember thinking like, this is like a Dawn of the Dead movie. Like they look like zombies. Like there's just zombies everywhere. And I was sketched out because I was like, there's so many of them, and they have mental illness. And again, I don't want to hit with a screwdriver. Like I don't want you to attack me thinking I'm the devil.
Yeah,
you know.
Of course. Inherently, these people are unstable.
They're unstable
and unpredictable.
For
you
sure.
don't know what they're gonna do.
Yes. That's dangerous, man.
Absolutely.
Why would you want your kids down there? Why would you want any of that down there? And I have empathy for those people. I really do. But, like, also we can't just allow them to roam everywhere.
Yeah, to just shit all over the place.
They're dangerous, and they're causing, and like you said, you know, they're defecating everywhere. You know, they need bathrooms. They need, you know, like they need human services. But I don't think there's like anything that's really getting it done.
Yeah.
And then I drove by Skid Row, and it was like blocks of it.
Wow.
Blocks.
Okay.
Not one block. Like, that's Skid Row. No.
Like a shanty town,
it was like a square mile of this homelessness everywhere.
Wow. Okay.
And it was tent. Every 5 feet. They were almost like butt up to each other, these tents.
Wow. Okay.
You know, where these people are living on the street. They don't move them. They don't do nothing.
Yeah,
and I don't see. I saw zero police.
Lack of resources because there's plenty of shelters available, but they're not allowed to use in the shelters. So
yeah, that's a problem. That's probably
go to the shelters.
That was part of the problem. Yeah, they don't want to use. They're not allowed to use, so they just stay on the streets.
Right.
And then when I was helping Patrick, we were going downtown, and then the Odals were helping too. We were doing. We were making sack lunches.
Okay.
At not St. Luke's, whatever the shelter is downtown. I can't even remember now. St. Mary, not St. Mary's Food Bank. It's St. Anyway, we went down there. We were making sack lunches. We went early in the morning to make the sack lunches. The homeless people would line up, and they would go and they'd feed them breakfast downtown.
Okay.
And then when they were done with breakfast, they'd get in a line, and it was a religious thing. So we would pray over them, and then we would hand them a sack, and this dude would put a sandwich in it, Bible verse, fruit, and a cookie.
Okay.
And a bottle of water.
Okay.
So it was like a good.
That's nice.
That's a decent meal, man. Like that's better than sometimes I eat. I mean, today I think I had some Jack in the Box with French fries. Like
right.
They were eating healthier than I was. But I would, I would go down there and I'd help him out, and we did this for a while. But after a while, I felt like, what are we doing here? Like we're giving them food, and I believe, like, I'm a religious person. I believe in prayer, but like, what are we helping them to stop being here?
They're just helping them to persist in the same way that they are.
Yeah, just existing. We're just helping them exist.
Right.
And it's just growing, it's not stopping it.
It's just making their lifestyle more sustainable.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, we saw them just throw stuff away. Like, this lady threw away an orange, And the guy was like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't like oranges. And he's like, give it back to me. I'll give it to someone that wants it. You're just throwing away food.
Yeah, somebody can make use of it. Yeah,
Some of you guys are starving.
Yeah.
Like, you're just throwing away food. This is a homeless person. And another time, I drink the stupid energy drinks, and I had it on the thing. This guy walks up to me, looks at me like this, and goes, whack. And,
what? Are you
knocks
serious?
it over. And it falls on the ground, and I pick it up, and I just act like nothing happened.
That guy was very lucky that day.
He was just crazy,
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, well, again, these guys, he thought something, like I was a bad person somehow, although I'm handing him food.
Right.
I said nothing bad, and I shake their hands too.
Okay.
Like I want to be personable, like they're human beings,
Sure,
I treat them like human beings.
Yeah.
And he just whatever, and then I was like, man, he could have just easily grabbed from his pocket and goes whack and stabs you with, again, like a screwdriver or something.
Yeah.
I would have been stabbed before I knew that I got stabbed.
I realized that he was.
And I was like, this is kind of dangerous actually down here. And and I just was like, what's the plan to get them not to be here? And a certain amount of them, I don't think they want to even be off the streets.
Right.
They just want a free life. And I don't think it's like laziness. I think it's just they're addicted to drugs, and they have mental illness, so they have a lot of pain, and sometimes they use drugs to help with the mental pain.
Of course.
But I think it just fuels it and makes it worse.
And it just becomes the only thing that can scratch their itch, but also the thing that's keeping them like trapped in that cycle.
Yeah.
I had another thing I had seen recently that described addiction. This is like kind of adjacent as a limiting of the things that give you pleasure. So like the more you fall into an addiction, the less normal things fulfill you, and only that one trigger is what actually scratches your itch, right? So like the little things that lead to a fulfilling, balanced life like start to become less appealing. So like even like seeing friends or exercising, none of those things scratch your itch. It just is that one thing. So you get trapped in just this cycle of just seeking the drug, experiencing the high, withdrawing, seeking the drug, experiencing the high, withdrawing, like this just cycle that you can't get out of unless you are aware of that process and are like willing to extract yourself from it. And most of these people are so unstable or strung out that they're never gonna be introspective enough to draw that conclusion and take action upon it, right?
Yeah. And I don't know the programs that are out there that are helping them with that. I don't know. I don't know. But I wish there was someone, and I don't hear anyone talking about it. Like, we're all talking about the elections and pandemics, and all these guys are trying to get elected, but what are you going to do about this giant I feel like it's the thing that's growing. So like a native invasive species.
Right.
So like on my mountain where I live at, there's like this little weed that came from Australia.
Okay.
And they're kind of pretty, but they're not supposed to be here.
Right.
Came on someone's shoe, probably. They went on the hike, they came back here, and it was on the shoe, and then boom, it's like, sweet, we like it here. Spread everywhere. And all those fires in the valley, they get dry and they die, and then they caught fire.
The fires really were related to that species?
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that. Sure. I had no idea.
Yeah, and they don't, they're like really small, so like it burns through or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't like, it's not like we don't have trees here, so like it's not as bad, but it was a problem that no one did anything about, no one cared about, but they're everywhere now. It's spread. It's not supposed to be here. Wow. And it chokes out all the other plants, and it's a problem now. It's a problem now.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like it's like. Like, I don't want to say homeless people are like invasive species, but like it's a small thing, and then it's just getting bigger, and nobody's doing anything about it.
It's just getting swept under the rug.
And they're taking over areas that were nice and that are now not nice.
Right.
So what is the plan? And as leadership, it's like that's when there's issues, that's what they should be doing, coming up with ideas, or asking for ideas, or some sort of discussion on these things. I don't remember hearing anything about any of this stuff, and this is not like a new thing. I think the pandemic has made it worse because people are losing jobs,
of course.
And
people that are on the edge are getting pushed to fall into that lifestyle.
And a lot of times too is like a family issue where you don't have the safety network to help you.
Right.
You know, I even think of when I was a kid, I had a ton of mental like problems, and like I had depression and then had learning disabilities and stuff. And my mom like helped me a lot. Like she took me to psychiatrist and psychologist. I was on medication. You know, not a big fan of medication. I stopped it when I was like 19 or whatever, and I haven't gone back since. But like, she tried to help me. Like, you know, at a certain point,
there was some sort of support.
But what I found into, like, at a certain point, it's you have to do the work. Like, you can't just fill yourself with meds.
There's no mother. Oh, I see what you mean. There's no quick, easy fix.
There's no quick, easy fix. Like, I had to do a lot of introspection, like you were saying, and think out the things and I found the exercise helps me with my depression. But that's not everybody. You know, some people need medication or whatever. But I felt like I had a safety network. Like, my mom was there. Some of these people, they don't have families. Like, their families aren't around. And then if I had financial issues and mental health issues, like, it would be really hard to get a job.
It's this whirlwind of events.
And then I take drugs, and then I'm addicted to drugs, and then it just gets like I'm deeper in the hole. And there's nobody to help pull you back out of that hole.
Of course.
I remember, I think Jordan Peterson was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about, you know, financial difficulties and how the world is actually doing way better than before.
Right.
But he was talking about it is actually really hard, if almost impossible, if you start at zero.
Okay.
So if you are zero, you start with zero money.
Right.
It's hard to get any money.
I see.
Almost impossible. So your family that you come from, wherever you come from, even a low or middle class or whatever, you still have a bed. You still have food.
They're like the stepping stone.
Yes, your family helps you get to the first ledge of social economic rise.
Right, and then from that, once you have your foot in the door, it's easier to start climbing.
Yes, it's easier. And then once you have a cushion, then when crazy stuff happens, you are prepared for that. Like, man, my car broke. I don't know how many times myself, like, my car was breaking down, and that was like a financial disaster for me.
Right, because I didn't get to work.
I didn't have a lot of money, but I was, you know, I borrowed. I could borrow from my parents.
Right.
You know, like they would always make me pay everything back. It wasn't never a get, which is I'm very thankful for that I had to earn it, not just like get. But it was like
a parenting strategy, right? It's not just because no
bank
spite or anything.
No bank is gonna do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you need $600? They're like, first of all, we don't even do that. You know, They don't even want to sell used cars to people without like crazy high interest rates. You know,
right?
And I get it because
they lose. Yeah,
they're gonna lose. They could lose an asset or whatever. But like, well, my point is, there's no safety net, and I think maybe some sort of like micro loans to the government that they know that they're gonna lose this money. But they're gonna have to build more prisons or whatever anyway. They're gonna spend that money anyway. Right. Is what my point is. I guess
it's gonna go somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere. So maybe we can keep some people off the streets if we can give them many loans. You know, at like 2% interest.
That's an interesting idea.
1% interest. You know, I'll give you $500, but it's 1% interest, and we tie it to like an online banking system. Because all these guys can get phones now too for free. Like they give you phones.
Oh yeah, you see that a lot.
Yeah,
those guys
they can all get phones too. So it could all be a banking phone system, monetary through the phone. No banks.
Right.
No physical bank, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And you could transfer that money to something, and they'll pay for it. I don't know, like. I'm just trying to think out of the box here, but I feel like people should be doing this, and I don't hear anything
searching for some sort of potential solution to get them off of the streets.
Yeah,
the micro loan is something I've heard of, like in like third world countries.
Yeah, they do that in third world countries.
Yeah, like to get you going for.
But you look downtown, that's a third world country.
Essentially, right.
And when you go to
the way they're living,
yeah. When I was a kid, you'd see pictures of like people in India or Africa, and they're like in huts and stuff. And you're like, oh man, they're doing so bad. They're intense. I don't see I see no difference. I see no difference. You know, sometimes over there it's even better because at least you can get bushmeat. You can literally go out in the wild and catch
provide
something
for yourself
if you
in a natural way.
Possibility at least.
Right.
You're in a concrete jungle.
You can only be a leech off of society. Essentially, you have to just. I mean, not to be in a negative way, but
but there's no food doesn't grow on trees downtown.
There's not apple trees sitting.
Yeah, which would be
around,
another thing that they could do too, is just grow fruit downtown.
That would be interesting.
You're like, let's remove all the desert trees and put fruit trees.
Fruit bearing trees. I always thought about that. I know like the one issue would be like wild animals, like because they're just not going to be rotten fruit all over the street and stuff. But I feel like there's some. I feel like there's some way to make that happen.
But they already pay groundkeepers downtown to do stuff.
Yeah, and you're using all that water to grow useless aesthetic trees. Plants. Yeah, versus something that could actually have utility.
And maybe like trees that use less water, fruit trees. Trees that produce but use less water. Because I know like certain trees like suck water down. That's one of the problems in California. Like I think. Walnut trees or whatever take crazy amounts of water. But I'm just, again, trying to think of here, like, it's sustainable. What is sustainable here? And what could we do? I mean, we could do even parks that are down there, and then people volunteer to take care of the plot, and they pick it, and then that goes to the shelter. Okay. And then the shelter, that's what they eat.
Right. I know there's like an idea of those tiny houses, maybe like the government providing something like that for them just to get them off of the street. I kind of feel like everything just seems like a Band-Aid because, like we said, if the person doesn't take the initiative upon themselves, it's more that they're just choosing to live that way. No matter what you give them, anything short of an endless supply of money, they'll just end up in the same situation essentially.
And that's what people were talking about, like what do they call that? Where they're just going to give people money forever.
Universal basic income.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the
It's a nice idea, but I'm not an economist. I have no background in that. I'm not sure.
I'm just thinking
I'm not sure how well it's going to run, how long
let's say they
last.
Give you $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month. You could easily blow that on drugs.
Oh, easily, yeah.
And you have nothing. You have no shelter. You have nothing.
You're just getting drug money all week.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how that would work. Like, how do you stop people from, like you said, like, they can have shelter. They can go to the shelter, but they won't go because they can't use drugs in the shelter.
Exactly.
So we're back to
no matter what resource you throw at them, like what is going to be enticing enough to actually pull them away from that?
Yeah, I just feel like we need to get less people into it, which is a better strategy. Less people to fall in the pit.
Right.
The people in the pit is going to be hard to get out of the pit. You sustain them with food. If they want to get out, the shelter's there. You got to quit doing drugs.
Right.
Let's prevent more people from falling in the pit.
Yeah,
I think
like an ounce of prevention
so
is worth a pound of the cure or something like that.
Less growth of this thing, just sustaining this thing.
Right.
Like keeping it in this area.
Try to keep it from getting any bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I that would be my strategy, just to see if we can work this thing out.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, even when I was going to Kyle's, like, there's people living in San Jose, and all those big tech companies are there. But people are living in cars.
Yeah, it's
one dude.
It's a weird contrast, right?
Yeah, one guy was trained with him. He was like a welder, and he was making like $30 an hour, and he was just living in his car.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, and he was, I think, showering at the gym.
Okay.
And maybe that was his choice. I don't know,
I wonder
but
if that
like
was like a long-term plan, or if that was just
short term. Who
trying
knows?
to get by for a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to the idea of like maybe like more sustainable living or something, living a lifestyle that's less costly.
Yeah.
But maybe some.
I mean, you do that well.
Of course, but something like that, like living in your car, like on the street, starts to maybe
the cars
cross
are
the
parked
line
everywhere.
from being sustainable to being like just a vagabond, right?
Yeah.
Like
we're back to gypsies again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that myself. I've actually been I want to do it in a way where I'm like actually providing for myself. But I was considering buying a school bus. I've been looking at school buses recently and thinking about decking it out.
Yeah.
But the plan there would not be to like live outside of the Walmart. I'd like to find a plot that I can rent or buy and just keep it up sustainably there.
Yeah.
But because I feel like that would be a nice middle ground for a lot of these people. Like the tiny house thing is a nice idea where you could at least keep them inside of a shelter with basic amenities. Like
the problem with the bus thing is it's gonna break down.
Right.
And how they pay for it to fix it.
Right.
Do they know how to fix it? Can they afford to get it? Tires on a bus are crazy expensive.
Oh yeah,
each tire's like $400.
If we're talking about a solution for the homeless, I would think more just like a basically glorified shed, essentially, right?
All right, we died.
Oh, whoops. Okay.
So we will hold on.
Okay.
I'll fix this.
Okay, no worries.
All right, round 2.
Okay.
Battery died. We'll do it again.
Starting again.
I don't know if I have to buy new batteries or my charger's not working right.
Okay.
I don't know what's. I don't really want to.
Seems to be up though.
Yeah, I don't want to really invest money.
I wonder what the battery life on those things is. You've been making pretty good use of them.
I mean, I've been making a lot of content.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if they just get worn out after a certain
charges.
time.
Short charges. I don't know. But I had 3 batteries, so I thought they would last a little longer.
Geez, yeah, rotating them.
I just rotate them through, but I guess I don't know. Nothing lasts. Anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about
kind of on homelessness this whole time.
Yeah.
School buses, tiny houses for the homeless.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it just seems like one of those.
I thought about this even when I was a kid. Like I used to think about it all the time. I always felt bad for like people that didn't have houses.
Oh
but
yeah, we have so much empathy for them. Like you said, we could be any one of those people.
Yeah, because I see myself again. If my family didn't help me with mental health, and I end up using drugs, like that would have been
you could easily end up there.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. If you took a left instead of a right in almost any
I have an uncle
situation, it could accumulate and you become something unrecognizable from what you are.
For sure. Yeah. And I've been fortunate that we got helped. And then one time when the market went crazy, like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we got kicked out of the house we were renting. I had a house I rented, and then I rented another house.
Okay.
So I sold that house, and then I had this. I didn't have any money in the bank extra.
Okay.
I had no savings.
Oh,
that was also
all
my fault. So then the market went up, and the people who were renting the house for like 5 years. They're like, "Hey, we're selling this house. Would you like to buy?" I'm like, "No, it's not that nice of a house."
Yeah.
And then the market was like crazy, and we didn't have the cash to buy a house, so we were like homeless for like 10 months or whatever.
Okay.
But we lived at my in-laws, and I lived with my parents, and we did that for like until I had the house I have now.
Right.
But it was like, in my mind, I was like, if we didn't have a family here, like we moved to Kansas.
Right.
And this same scenario happened. Nobody would have been around.
In an instant, you're just
homeless. In an instant, we would homeless.
Yeah.
And I had money that we could have rented something.
Okay.
But the apartments were just as much expensive as a house. So I was like, I don't want to do
your
a
family
year
into this like small space.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just, it was like a catch-22 feel to it.
Okay.
Like we can't rent an apartment because then I can't save money and I have less. And then I'm just giving money to nothing.
Right.
And I was showing I was making enough money to afford a house, but I didn't have the savings for it. Like, so It took me it took me 10 months to
reconcile that situation. Okay.
It's a horrible situation, but I was like, in my mind, I was like, this is how these things happen. Like, you don't have the safety net.
Yeah.
And then no family to help you out. And then boom, you're just homeless, know? So I recommend everyone save money for emergencies,
Yeah, knock on wood. I also had the support of my family always, and I'm kind of looking towards making my next step right now, like how you're talking about. If you start at zero, it's hard to get up.
It's hard.
I have had a place to live, and I've been using that to advantage. I've been stacking up for the last few years.
Yeah, that's great.
Ready to make my next move.
But
like you said, if I didn't have that, I would just be barely making it every month.
No ability to save money because you would be having rent, and rent is a fortune. Rent is like, for most people, I think it's supposed to be 1/5 of your income, whatever.
I know it's like some.
A lot of people, it's like
a quarter,
a third, or a quarter, which is a lot of money, man.
Right.
And so you can't save money when your roof over your head is taking all of the money from you.
Yeah. No, honestly, not to get into specifics, but I have people in my family that are right now doing like paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And that was more like they kind of had the pride and didn't want to stay at home and take that support.
Yeah.
So now they're just on this treadmill where they're like just barely getting
by.
I've
did it for years, man.
And like sometimes I feel a little bad. I've been taking advantage of the rent situation, but I'm in a position now where I'm ready to make the next move, and I'm safe. Yeah. I'm okay. I have the safety net to be able to do that. You know?
And then, so in Arizona also was having problems. That was part of the problem in California, is the cost of housing is too expensive for most people. And so a lot of people move here, but then Arizona cost has
It's
gone
starting
up
to
too.
get quite high.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it happens on all these big cities all the time. And people can't afford it, so they move farther away, and then they drive in, and then that causes problems too. And in Arizona, Phoenix was supposed to have this program where they're going to start helping people with first-time home buyers again, because people were getting priced out of the place where they live.
Right.
You know. And that, so then that's homeless again, like people living in, a bunch of people in one house because none of them can afford it on their own, and like stuff like that. And I don't know the answer to that one either, but Phoenix was supposed to supply that. I bet you all that money's gone because of because all the city had to spend money on protesters. I think some of that was FEMA money.
Okay.
But and then now we have this. Phoenix was trying to supposedly help small business. I didn't get those loans either, but I bet you they don't have that money anymore,
right.
to help that.
Yeah.
So it's just going to
cause
cause a problem more.
Everything we've gone through the last few months, I'm sure.
Yeah. And downtown was looking nice again. And then one of the students yesterday was telling me, because his offices were down there, that people aren't going to offices anymore.
Oh, so the areas around the offices are dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Because none of those restaurants are being used. None of those. There's a gym town. Well, gyms too, but there's a gym downtown. Nobody's using it because nobody's there.
Nobody's there.
They're
working from home.
All the jobs aren't down there, and then the hotels too, because nobody is traveling for business anymore. You might do a conference downtown Phoenix. They're not doing that now. So the hotels are like they rely on business travel too. That's another problem.
Of course, yeah.
And with all the the economic stuff of this pandemic, drives me crazy because everyone's like, oh, well, people are gonna die. I'm like, people are gonna die a lot.
You
now.
start to feel like the economic impact is
going to
be
cause
more of the issues.
And I also worry that there's going to be a worse pandemic. Like this was like a nothing pandemic, and we handled it
by no means
terrible.
The Black Plague or anything like that.
We handled this terrible.
Right.
What if there's a flu, pandemic? Because the last pandemic was a flu.
Right.
That affects kids. Right now the kids seem to be decent, like no real problem, like death problems.
Yeah.
There's some, but not so
generally they can
ridiculously
handle it.
Small.
Yeah.
The flu does kill more kids currently than
the
coronavirus. It just does.
Right.
But what if we have another super flu and it just attacks everybody? Then, healthy people too, because right now the coronavirus seems to people that have autoimmune diseases, people overweight, people with cardiovascular issues.
Right.
Other people get sick, but they don't die. The pandemic flu of 1918 or whatever,
the Spanish flu,
killed everybody.
Completely healthy people.
Completely healthy people. So I always worry too that we handled this terrible, on all fronts. And this was a nothing. Like
it's going to be if anything real comes around, it's going to be a shit show.
It's going to be a shit. It was already a shit show.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're talking about millions will die with that one. Although they said millions were going to die this one, and that didn't quite happen. Yeah, I mean worldwide, I guess, but not like I think the swine or the Spanish flu was like 20 million people died. That's insane.
Jeez, yeah,
that's crazy.
That's real, especially in 1918 population.
In 1918 population, they were saying people were dying. Like literally in the streets, and they just can't bury them because there are not enough people to bury. Too many bodies to bury.
That's how I heard the description in New York for a little while. I don't know if that's. They say that New York was hit pretty bad, but
for this one,
this one,
they had coolers outside and stuff and even here they had coolers outside because they were filling up the things. But people weren't talking about all the suicides; were also filling it up as well, and the overdoses because people were home all day long doing nothing, just popping pills,
drugs, drinking, all that stuff. Yeah,
100%. None of that was talked about at all.
Right.
So I don't know.
If you save them from the corona, then the deaths as a byproduct don't matter or something. Like it's.
Yeah, I just think we're not being honest about any of it.
Right.
And I it's not that I don't believe the coronavirus is a problem because I do. Like people died, 100% people died.
Of course.
But we're just not being realistic about all of this. Like they should have protected the elderly populations first once they found out, and then cut everything else out, and then people are just gonna have to get sick.
Right. Yeah, that's how I thought it was kind of strange that the whole world had to quarantine as opposed to just those that were actually vulnerable. You would think that, like, the people need to take it upon themselves to quarantine themselves, as you would with the Spanish flu. It's like this is a kind of a loose metaphor, but if I can't swim, does that mean that you're not allowed to have a pool? Like doesn't it
doesn't make sense.
It just seems a little silly in that
doesn't
respect.
Make sense.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is that the cat got out of the bag, or Pandora's box was opened and they couldn't put it back in. But they should have shut this down in the beginning. They should have had a huge task force to track everyone was sick and quarantine those people.
Right.
It would have been over with in a month.
Like New Zealand style. Is that what they did? They got rid of it. Really
but then it's easier for them because it's a tiny little
population.
Small population. It's even, I think the whole country is smaller than Phoenix.
Oh, geez, wow.
Like population wise,
easier to get under control.
I think it's like 5 million people for the country or something like that. So and it's an island.
Right.
There's not roads in and out.
You're not at risk of people.
Yeah, they just shut down the ports and airports.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, quarantine the sick people, not quarantine everyone.
Everybody, yeah, of course. Uh-huh.
And then because you're supposed to put those people in hotels. You can rent hotels, put them in hotels, and then they stay in their rooms and they don't leave until it's over. And if whoever dies, and whoever doesn't, they can go back to the population because they're no longer contagious. Or you test them to see if they're contagious. I think I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what the federal government was thinking, but clearly they don't have the shit together.
Like you said, I feel like it was kind of Pandora's box was open. I think it started to get out of hand. I mean,
they cut a ton of funding to the CDC. Trump did
prior to this occurring. Yeah, I remember.
They're like, and I don't know why that's not really talked about either.
Yeah, it kind of gets swept under the rug. I heard that mentioned a few times, but
because H1N1 was way worse. The percentages of death are way, way more, and it kills kills healthy people.
Okay. Yeah.
And they tracked that down, and they spent a lot of money, and they had reserves, and they had stockpiles of everything.
Okay.
And they were prepared for the next one, and then they cut all that.
Wow. Right.
Before this
timing? That's insane. Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody ever talks about that, but it is what it is, I guess. What are you gonna do with the music? What do you think? What's your next deal with that? You did 2 songs, you said.
Yeah, I did 2 songs. I'm planning on turning those into like videos. I have one of them I'm going to chop up the Guatemala footage over. The second one, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to maybe talk to a buddy that's like a filmographer. And
I saw a lot of video or photos. You have a lot of video too?
Yeah, like from the Guatemala.
Yeah.
I took a ton of video, just
awesome.
like still frame videos, just so with the idea of putting it, like chopping it up together.
I should have gave you my GoPro.
There's a couple of videos I did, there's like one I did in Brazil and one I did in Argentina. That was like the same idea. I just took
I saw those ones.
Yeah. I just did it the exact same way, basically.
Oh,
just
cool.
Planning on chopping it up over it. But like I said, the dude I sent the track to was a little late on it, but no specific plans, honestly. I'm like not prolific at all. Like even when I try to be, like it's just a struggle for me to write sometimes. Like sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's just like it's just a real process.
To do,
so
man.
I think of it I think of it more as like a hobby, kind of like it'd be hard for me to like knock out like 16 tracks like every couple months, I feel like the quality would diminish. So it's just still something that's like you said, it's an art. So something I'm just working on for the sake of itself.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's
I mean that podcast I just released was kind of about that, like, just creating and not just destroying, and like finding something that you can create.
Yeah.
Or even on a lower level of creating, like maybe you're not a creative person, but like a hobby that's a positive thing for yourself, that
something that you're
working
growth
towards. Like fishing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's not as much of an art form, but like I guess maybe even making lures is probably an art form.
Yeah, you can turn it into an art form. Yeah.
But something that you're doing that's kind of positive, not negative.
Yeah, and I don't like the idea of putting too much pressure on it. Like it has to be like perfect, or I have to like knock out setting deadlines for myself, just because for whatever reason in that particular realm it doesn't work for me. When I start to set restrictions or timelines, I just like freeze up kind of.
Yeah.
It just needs to be something that I do whenever I'm like
the pressure just when you're feeling it.
Yeah, just kind of when I'm feeling it. Like don't get me wrong, I'll force myself to do it at times, but then I feel like the quality diminishes. Now, like maybe I'm working on my skill, but it's different making something that I'm actually proud of versus just something that I'm just like shitting out essentially.
Well, when I was really young and I wanted to be an artist and I used to draw for hours and hours and hours and hours, I would not lock myself. I would put myself in my room, I'd blast my music, and I'd do it for like 6 hours at a time.
That's what I would have to do.
And then I would produce like one good picture.
Yeah, that's what I'll do that.
And it was
I'll get like 5 lines.
And I draw heavy, which you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to draw light and then pick the good lines and then you ink that in or whatever.
Right.
I just drew everything hard. So I'd be like erasing everything, or I would rip them up, and like I destroy my art a lot.
Yeah.
Like I get frustrated. I'm like, this is shit, and I just
I can
throw it away.
I
and
relate
like,
to that. Yeah.
And then I just sit there like this and just staring at the wall, and like until the wall starts giving me swirls, and then I get an idea or whatever, and then I didn't try to run with it. But it takes hours to produce like that.
That's exactly how I feel in that situation, where it just like art is absolutely a struggle. Like it's like you said, I could sit there for 5 hours and I'll get like a few lines that I actually like. Maybe I'll write one line like 7 different times, and it takes me an hour to get that one right exactly the way that I want it, you know.
Do you ever go back and go, man, I have a better line than that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely. That's how I always feel like at the end of some songs, when it's like I've spent so much time working on this, I just want it to be done. Like the last couple of lines will just be kind of like fill it in with whatever, you know. But then later on, I'll go, I wish I would have changed that.
Yeah. I was never good at color, so I do a lot of pencil drawings. And part of it was like I always felt like I'd color it red, and then I'm like, no, blue would be better.
Okay.
But it's done. Like I can't undo it because I didn't do paint. I wasn't doing paint. I was doing like marker or something like that to fill it in.
Right.
You can't undo it. Then I started doing computers, and then I would copy it, or I would scan it into computer and I would color with the computer. But then even I would just do like multiple copies of it. I'm like, I can't pick which one I like better. They all look cool to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks cool red. It looks cool blue. And then
how do you ever
I
decide?
get indecision. Like I get like indecisive with it. Like, someone needs to pick this for me. I can't. It's like my baby. I can't. It's like telling my sons, like, I love you more than the other one. Like, I can't. I don't know if I can do that.
That's the crux of the issue. Is my indecisiveness is what keeps me from being able to write. Because like I'll freestyle all the time, like with friends, and I could just, you know, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm capable of producing lines like on the spot. You know,
oh, that's awesome.
That fit the structure. You know, that rhythmically sound good and everything. But it's a matter of putting it to a paper and deciding that this is the line.
This is the good one.
Like that's
the right one.
That's just the issue, the indecisiveness, where it's like I know it could be a little bit better here, a little bit better there, and it's not a matter of like. It's different than like physical exercise, where like if I want to get better, I can just grind it out like mindlessly. It just either I have the right word in mind or I don't, and there's like until that like line comes up or like I brainstorm long enough for it to appear, like I'm kind of at the will of like the muse, you know what I mean? Like it just has to come to me basically.
What is the muse?
People say that.
No, I know what a muse is, but what is your muse or whatever?
It's like that moment, in my mind, it's like that moment of inspiration where things just kind of things just happen perfectly. You find that flow state.
The flow state, yeah. It's awesome.
I would say the flow state essentially.
Is the best feeling. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I get into the bad habit where I just freestyle for like weeks. Like I won't write at all, but I'll just like I have a buddy that I can call.
But you don't record it?
No, not really.
Oh, so that's what you should do.
That might be easier.
You should just record yourself freestyling all the time and then listen to it and go, that's good, that's bad, that's good, and just steal those lines and then redo them.
Yeah, that might be the move. Because like like freestyling to me feels more like exercise, where like I can do that. I can force myself to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll get better by doing that. But like where writing is a little
just
bit
extract.
Writing is more finicky. Like I can't just will my way through like a good verse, you know.
That's what I would do. I would just freestyle and then record all of them and then extract good lines here and there that's a good line. That's a good line. Because that's a good line. Then write those down. And then maybe you don't use them yet, but you can see where they fit in.
You can plug them in when you're maybe at a moment of writer's block. You're like, oh, maybe this line will
try
work
it.
there.
You know, like, oh, I have this line over here. I haven't used it, and it's the right, like you said, right rhythm structure for this current song I'm working on or whatever. And That's what I would do, man. Because
Okay.
I'm sure there's a ton of good stuff
Right.
in your freestyle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's how I feel. Is that you kind of. That's a fun one too, because it's like the same thing. The flow. It is definitely a flow state where you just can only think about like the line that's coming up next. Like you're just really in the moment. But it's fun. You'll find there'll be like little spurts where like I have like a really nice 4 lines. Like, oh, those 4 could have been like written. You know.
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes to trash for a little bit, and then you just like find your rhythm for a second, and you find 2 or 3 really nice lines.
You should do it that way. Seriously, like just even let's say you get 1 good line out of 20 good lines, whatever. Like over time, you can build a bunch of lines.
Definitely,
you know, you get, 60 lines, you got 3 good ones.
Okay.
That's still better than 0 and just like smashing your head into the wall until lines come out.
Yeah, absolutely. That might be a good move. Maybe I'll give that a shot. Well, I say I'm not prolific. That has been one of my like goals. Like I wish I could be prolific, so I need to just maybe find new strategies to make it happen.
I like listening to like comedians talk to other comedians about like their how they come up with stuff, and a lot of them film all their sets. So whenever they do a show, they film it no matter what. And I remember Jerry Seinfeld saying that like years ago. Even from the very beginning, he would set up a camcorder and he films all his sets.
Okay.
And then I was listening to Joe Rogan, I think it was, with not Colin Farrell. I don't remember the guy's last name, the comedian. And he's a funny comedian, and he was talking the same thing. Like he was going to do a show, and he was listening to his shows to like find the rhythm.
I see.
And the good lines and where the punchline has to land at a certain spot.
Okay.
So, or like when they're working out material, they're trying jokes out, they film it and then they're like, that was garbage, like it didn't come out. But then they have like, they listen to it and they go, okay, well that premises was good. Maybe if I tweak it a little bit, if I say this word, I'll take this word out, put a new word in.
Right.
You know, instead of saying junk, I'll say dong or whatever.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
a little replacement.
Yeah. And
that's key. I mean,
and then you can, and then, but that takes work too. But like I said, you're still using a flow state to do the rhymes, and then if you record it, you can kind of extract the good stuff out.
You can make it more like intellectual.
Take the pulp
later,
out, and then the good juice is left. You know.
Right. All right.
I don't know. I don't know nothing about music, but if
No,
I
that
was
makes
doing
sense.
it, that's what I would do.
And I've heard people say this, that there's kind of this weird parallel between comedians and rappers, because it's like a weird art form that like nobody can really teach you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this thing you kind of just have to figure out yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like elusive, like what is good and what is bad. Like it's a very subjective art form. So
well, I've even heard musicians
see that crossover
will come up with a melody, and I don't remember who it was. It might have been Michael Jackson. He came up with a melody, and he would call his house, and then the recorder on the house.
Oh, he would
leave it. Sing the recording, like he would. Like there's no lyrics. He just came up with this cool sound, the melody, and he's like, and maybe I'll do something with that. But he would call himself, because back then you didn't have a phone that you could record shit into, or mobile recording wherever you go, like you could basically have now. So they would do that. Just they get the inspiration, like, oh, it's there.
Just keep track of it.
I got to keep it, because like sometimes good ideas are like, I find them like butterflies,
Oh yeah,
and it's floating around, and if you don't like grab that sucker, it's gone.
It disappears forever.
And you can always go have the memory of like that butterfly was beautiful, but it's gone. It ain't
don't remember what it looks like. I don't remember the size of it.
I remember it was great.
I remember I reacted.
Yes.
As if it was beautiful.
And for me, like, art is always like that, like the butterfly, like, and I'm trying to catch those butterflies.
To keep a hold of,
and they're not easy to catch, and I don't have a net even.
100%.
And if I grab it too hard, I smash it,
destroy
and then I
it.
destroy it. And I have like butterfly wings on my hands, like, oh well, that's not cool looking.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fun. That's a cool way. I mean, I definitely have like a little recording app where I have like years and years worth of like little lines or verses and stuff.
Well,
like
that helps then.
Yeah, it helps a lot, definitely. But I think the idea of the freestyling actually would be a good idea. Shit, what was I gonna say? I had a thought. Man, I can't remember where I was going with that one.
I think the camera's gonna die soon, man.
Okay.
We could just end it, dude.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't have much to say.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to someone about the homeless thing. So
see what's going on with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Just bounce ideas
No,
off
that's
you.
right. It's always fun.
Talk over you a lot.
I enjoy being here. It's always fun.
So
Hopefully we'll have some music next time. I was saying I got those 2 tracks being recorded. Maybe we could listen to them next time. I can always do. Maybe we could do something live eventually.
Yeah, I was thinking about. I love bluegrass.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in the valley, but
like
I wanted.
Guy that'll come and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, it'd be cool because this right here, people plug in these plugs. You can plug them into, your guitar even. It'll record into this.
Okay.
So like he could just sit here with this mic. I'll have my mic. Oh, there you go. Well, we'll just end it right there.
It was done. It's
Yeah.
done. Okay. All right. Cool.
All right.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.
Let me talk for just a second, help me feel that sense of rhythm. Find the meanings in our bearings and discover this position as a stage along the way. Another rung to the ladder, either stalling or you're climbing, and I'd rather beat the ladder. Instead of getting fatter, let the footsteps resume naturally.